Okay, so today I want to talk all about crochet tools, very specifically ball holders. I have a few different ones that I've been experimenting with over the last several weeks and months, and some have worked out better than others. This one that I have here is a dual spindle. It's a pretty simple design. You've got this screw-in pole that sits in on these magnetic bases. Take this off. It comes off like that. So there's a little screw that fits in there at the bottom. You can kind of see that. And then you just fit it in the hole. And it just pops back on, and it kind of stays in there pretty good. And it can get a good spin going. It doesn't get sticky. I haven't had any problems. I've used this during warm, more humid weather, and it's starting to get drier and colder now. So I've got these two balls here, same yarn, and I used this to make my last little hat project, Tunisian crochet, and I needed 2 balls, because when you're doing Tunisian crochet in the round, you need 2 balls of yarn. So I made it, no problems. I didn't have any problems. Like I said, it spins nicely. There's no stickiness. The biggest complaint I have with this particular one really is, and it's going to be hard to demonstrate because it wasn't consistent, but sometimes when you pull it, you see, I don't know if you noticed that, but it started to spin in one way and then went back around the other way. I don't really know what makes it do that. Usually it'll spin nice and smoothly, and you'll see it's not spinning too fast, which is really important with a tool like this, because if it starts to spin too fast, then you'll end up with too much yarn, and you'll end up with yarn kind of twisted around the bottom here. And that's really annoying. You can work through it and around it, but I did kind of encounter that with this style of kind of a spinning spindle. But this one's pretty sturdy, and I like that it holds 2. And I've used this, like I said, to make a hat and Tunisian crochet, and I used it like with a single ball just to test out the spinning, and it really hasn't caused me any major issues. I was able to finish a project. I will probably keep these balls and do something else to go with the little hat that I made. But this one, all in all, I like it. You can remove these pieces. If you want to store them away, you can take the spindles off, and you still have this big base, obviously, but you can take the spindles off if you don't want it to be so high up in your space. You can at least take those off and kind of put them off to the side. So I wouldn't say it's a space saver, but you can make it a little less tall at least. So it has that going for it. So all in all, I like this one. I do like the fact that it does 2 balls of yarn. And as long as you can get to a place where you have a hole that you can slide it on, then it seems to work okay. But it's not obviously as good for, leftover yarn, like little small pieces. You want to use it with, big full balls. And this does allow you to have outside pull. So if you run into problems with yarn, I'm an inside pull. I really prefer yarn to pull from the inside, and sometimes I'll rewind balls just to get them so they are center pull. But this does work with outside pull, and sometimes if you can't get center pull to work out for you, then this is a really good option. So that's the dual spindle made out of wood. I do like this one. If you're looking for something to hold 2 balls of yarn, right now this is my best recommendation, but it's not the only one I used. If you're looking to work with a single ball of yarn, let's move this one out the way. We've got this one. When you want to put it together, all you have to do is put this piece together, put the screw in here, and then put the screw in here. And then once you got those 2 screws in place, then you can just connect it. Then once it's connected, you see it just hangs freely because of the magnet. You can put yarn on it. You can take one of these blue balls and stick it on here. And now the blue ball's on here. And so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the secret right now. I don't like this one as much as the one I just showed you, the brown one over here. I prefer this one. I'd even rather use this one for just one ball of yarn instead of this one. I love the way this looks. I love the black finish that it has. I got the black finish because I have a black desk and I have black accessories and just black stuff all over the place. I thought black would look really sharp, and it does look really sharp. I don't really have anything in my space that's this color, but that's kind of where the joy ends. Again, and I think it might be easier to see with this one, but when you start to pull it, it's spinning much faster, and it gets caught a little bit more. And when it starts to spin, it can really just start to spin out of control. You see how it's spinning the other way back around. It does this. It spins much more freely. So I find that I want it to go in one direction, but it will sometimes spin. And if you pull too hard, then eventually it's just going to probably start spinning in the other direction. And then you will end up, as you can see now, you will end up with yarn around the base that's kind of just getting tangled around the base, and then you'll have to pull it in the other direction to get it to start working again. It spins a lot more. This might work really well for heavier yarn, but this is a DK weight cotton acrylic blend, and it's just not heavy enough. And I don't have anything super heavy that fits on this spindle. I'd have to wind some yarn. Maybe with heavier yarn this would work better, but I do a lot of my work with DK. DK is my favorite weight. So while this does work and it's usable, I just found it to be annoying, and I ended up just putting it off to the side, and I haven't used it, especially once I got this one. And I was like, well, this one doesn't spin. Although it looks like it's spinning really here, once you have the yarn on it, it doesn't spin out of control like this one spins out of control. And it won't spin back in the other direction to the extent that this one will. This one will just really spin too freely in the opposite direction. So it looks great. It's easy to put together, but it's just annoying. So I'm not overwhelmingly a fan of this one, unfortunately. I really wanted to like it because I think it's really pretty, but it's also really kind of annoying. So there's that. And then I had one colossal fail that I will share with you. I was really bummed about this one. I really wanted it to work well, but his actually literally ended up in pieces. There's one piece. And then here's the main piece. So this one, again, is wood. Can you tell I like wood? I like wood. Big fan. And the idea here, and I don't even know where the dowels are. That's crazy. But the idea here is you have this piece, and the screws have come completely out. But the idea was that you have this piece here. This one's just completely in the way now. Let's get you out the way. So you have these two pieces, and then you have these slots where these dowels fit in, and then you've got space here on the side with these little holes that line up on the bottom, on the base. You can see the holes there. You line that up, and you can like stick crochet hooks and scissors and stuff in there, you know, little accessories. And I first put this together, I had my husband inspect it, and he was not impressed. He noted that the screws weren't really the right length. They weren't really ideal for this particular construction. He actually offered to get some additional screws and some pieces to make this work, because the other problem I had, and this problem right here of it falling apart when I picked it up and tried to use it, and I think the holes and the screws, I think everything's kind of stripped down. It won't stay. And I didn't pull it hard. I was not being harsh. I picked it up and it all just kind of crumbled. Even more disappointing than that is the fact that the dowels, which have rolled away somewhere, I don't know where they are, they weren't long enough. So as soon as you would touch them, the dowels would just plink fall as if this isn't going to be long enough, but I can kind of demonstrate. So if you had a dowel going across here, let me put it down here, a dowel going across here, it would be fine until you'd go, as soon as you touched it, it would fall just like that. So obviously this is not the piece, but just demonstrating what they would do. It's like it would just barely be in there, and if you pulled on it, it would just come out. And that was true even when I tried swapping dowels from one hole to another. There's a hole here at the top, and it didn't matter. It just wasn't, the dowels weren't long enough. So even if I didn't have this problem of the screws not being the appropriate screws to hold everything together and keep it strong, I wasn't going to be able to use it anyway without figuring out how to lengthen the dowels, which again, my husband offered to do. He's like, we can fix this. I didn't have the heart. I don't even have the heart to try to fix it. I do like this one in terms of look, probably the best, but and not necessarily look, because I'm not a big fan of this wood grain look they've got going here. It looks very fake, probably because it is very fake, but I prefer, the brown one or the black one. That finish better. But in terms of design and style and functionality with this caddy on the end, I wanted to like this one, and I'm just very disappointed that it didn't work out. In the end, I'm not sure that I even recommend these kind of ball holders. I think if you have struggled with using 2 balls, or let's say 4, because I've done Tunisian crochet projects where I've worked with 4, 6, and 8 balls of yarn, so I would need to have multiple holders like these, right? I think that could work, but because they take so much space, I think it's just easier and less space to just line the balls up. You see how these just fit in neatly here, and then when you're working, you just have your balls lined up and just keep them orderly. And when you need to put them aside, put them back orderly. That has worked well for me. So I like the idea of this dual spindle. This one is my favorite of the 3 by far, and I use this and I can use it, but in the end my preference is to have 2 center pull balls sitting on my desk and I'm just working. I don't know that this adds so much value or saves me so much time that it's worth the purchase to me. Maybe you've been having trouble with, the pull rate from your balls of yarn, especially if you're an outside pull. If you are an outside pull person, then this may be really useful. But like I said, I prefer center pull anyway. That's why I own 3 ball winders at this point, which I should probably do a video on next. But for now, ball holders like these, meh is kind of my response. If you get one, you tried and you like it, definitely this is the best one of the ones I've seen. So if you need a dual, or you get something like this that's just a single, that would probably be my biggest and best recommendation. But I don't think you need it. I think it's just something nice to have. So those are my thoughts on ball holders. What do you think? Have you been using ball holders? Do you find them to be beneficial and valuable? Have they made your projects easier? I've gotten really used to just laying my balls out, so it hasn't really made a big difference for me, but that's what I got. Thanks for watching.